The massive space station Kepler 442 floated in the darkness between stars like a metal city. Its silver walls stretched for miles in every direction. Bright lights blinked along its surface as ships came and went from dozens of different worlds. This was the Galactic Defense Academy, where beings from across the galaxy learned to fight together and keep peace among the stars. Kate Morrison pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship. She had never seen anything so huge in her life. Back on Earth, she had been a Marine sergeant for 8 years. She thought she had seen everything the military could offer. But this was different. This was bigger than anything humans had ever built. "First time seeing the Academy?" asked Tony Rodriguez, sitting beside her. He was also from Earth, a former Navy pilot with dark hair and quick eyes. Like Kate, he had scored high enough on the tests to earn a spot in the human program. "Yeah," Kate replied. "Hard to believe we made it here." Lisa Park leaned forward from the seat behind them. She was smaller than Kate, but had muscles that showed years of martial arts training. "My grandmother always said humans would reach the stars someday. She just never thought it would happen so fast. 3 years ago, humans had made first contact with the Galactic Alliance. Earth's technology impressed the alien leaders enough to offer membership, but membership came with rules. Every species had to send their best warriors to train at the Academy. Only those who passed could serve in the Alliance Defense Force. The transport ship docked with a soft bump. Kate grabbed her gear bag and followed, the other passengers out. The docking bay was enormous. Creatures she had only seen in videos walked past them. Tall, thin beings with blue skin talked in musical voices. Insect-like creatures with 4 arms carried equipment twice their size. Strange glowing shapes that might have been pure energy floated overhead. "Welcome to Kepler 442, said a voice behind them. They turned to see a human man in a crisp uniform. He was tall and broad-shouldered with gray hair. "I'm Commander Jake Sullivan. I'll be your liaison officer during your time here." Kate saluted along with the others. Sullivan smiled and waved them to relax. "Save the formal stuff for the alien instructors," he said. "They expect it, but when it's just us humans, we can be normal people." His face grew serious. "You're going to need that. The training here is unlike anything Earth has to offer." They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Other species moved past them in groups. Kate noticed how they looked at the humans. Some seemed curious. Others appeared to ignore them completely. A few looked like they thought humans didn't belong here. "How many human cadets are there?" Tony asked. 12 total, Sullivan replied. "You 3 are the newest arrivals. The others have been here for 2 weeks already. They can tell you what to expect." They passed through a section marked with symbols Kate couldn't read. The air felt different. Here, thicker somehow. Sullivan noticed her looking around. "Each section is designed for different species," he explained. "The gravity, air, and temperature change based on who lives there. The main training areas are set to what they call standard conditions. It works okay for most species, including us." They stopped at a door marked with human symbols. Inside was a common room with chairs and tables that looked almost normal. 4 other humans sat around a table talking quietly. They looked tired and stressed. "Everyone meet our new arrivals," Sullivan announced. "Kate Morrison, Tony Rodriguez, and Lisa Park." The others introduced themselves. There was Ben Taylor, a former Army Ranger with scars on his hands. Amy Johnson had been an Air Force pilot before coming here. Carlos Santos was ex-Special Forces, and Rachel Kim had served in the Coast Guard. They all looked like they had been through something difficult. "How's the training?" Kate asked as they sat down. Ben laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Ever heard of Commander Zethkar?" "Should we have?" Lisa replied. "He's our main combat instructor," Amy said. 8 feet tall, looks like a cross between a crocodile and a tank, and hates humans with a passion." "Hates us?" Tony frowned. "Why?" "He thinks we're weak," Carlos explained. "He calls us soft mammals and says we don't belong in the Alliance. Military. Every day he tries to make us quit." Rachel nodded. "Yesterday he had us fight training robots designed for his species. They're twice as fast and 3 times as strong as anything made for humans. 2 of our people are still in the medical bay." Kate felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "What does Commander Sullivan say about this?" "He's filed complaints," Ben replied. "But Zethkar has been here for 20 years. He has friends in high places. They say his methods are tough but effective." Sullivan returned with data pads for the new arrivals. "Your schedules," he said. "Classes start at 600 tomorrow. Combat training with Commander Zethkar is at 1400 hours." That night, Kate lay in her small room staring at the ceiling. The artificial gravity felt slightly different from Earth's. Everything reminded her she was far from home. She thought about why she had come here. Growing up in a small town in Montana, she had always wanted to serve something bigger than herself. The Marines had given her purpose and discipline. When the opportunity came to represent humanity among the stars, she couldn't refuse. Her parents were proud but worried. Her younger brother had begged her not to go. Now she wondered if she had made the right choice. But quitting wasn't in her nature. She had survived Marine training, 2 tours of duty and promotion to sergeant. One angry alien instructor wouldn't break her. The next morning came early. Kate joined the others for breakfast in the human section. The food was designed to taste familiar, but something was always slightly off. They ate quickly and headed to their first class. The classroom was huge, designed to hold students of many different sizes. Kate found herself sitting between a creature that looked like a walking tree and something that resembled a giant spider. Both ignored her completely. The instructor was a Nexus, one of the cybernetic species. Half of its body was organic, half machine. It spoke in a flat, electronic voice about Alliance law and military regulations. Kate took notes and tried to follow along. After 3 hours of classes, lunch break came as a relief. The humans gathered in their section to compare notes. "Did anyone understand the part about quantum jurisdiction?" Amy asked. "I'm still trying to figure out what a temporal violation means," Ben replied. At 1400 hours, they reported to the combat training facility. The room was enormous, with high ceilings and equipment designed for species of all sizes. Other cadets were already there, practicing with weapons or fighting in pairs. Then Commander Zethkar entered the room. Kate had expected him to be big, but seeing him in person was different. He stood nearly 8 feet tall and was built like a tank with legs. His skin was dark green and covered in natural armor plates. His eyes were yellow and cold. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding stone. "Attention, all cadets," he called out. The room fell silent instantly. "Today we begin combat evaluation. Each species will demonstrate their natural fighting abilities." His eyes found the human group and his expression grew even colder. "We will start with the newest additions to our program," he said. "The humans will show us what Earth's warriors can do." Kate felt every eye in the room turned towards them. Some looks were curious, others doubtful. A few seemed almost pitying. She straightened her shoulders and stepped forward with her fellow humans. This was their first real test. Everything they did here would set the tone for their entire time at the academy. Kate looked up at Commander Zethkar's towering form and refused to show fear. Whatever came next, she was ready. 3 weeks had passed since Kate and her fellow humans arrived at the academy. Every day brought new challenges and Commander Zethkar's growing hostility. The alien instructor seemed to take personal pleasure in making their lives difficult. Kate wiped sweat from her face as she finished the morning obstacle course. The course was designed for beings much larger and stronger than humans. What should have taken 20 minutes had taken her 45. Her muscles ached and her uniform was soaked with sweat. "Pathetic." Zethkar's voice boomed across the training. "The hairless apes move like injured prey animals. How does the Alliance expect such weak creatures to defend anything?" Several alien cadets turned to watch. Kate saw a group of Thrax, the insect-like beings, clicking their mandibles in what might have been laughter. The Luminari, beings of pure energy, pulsed with different colors. Kate couldn't tell if they were amused or concerned. Tony Rodriguez stumbled as he came off the final obstacle. His knee buckled and he nearly fell. Kate moved to help him, but Zethkar's voice stopped her. "No assistance," he commanded. "In real combat, No one will help you. Rodriguez must learn to handle his own weakness. Kate clenched her fists but said, "Nothing." Tony limped to the finish line on his own, his face tight with pain. Lisa Park was still on the course, moving slowly but steadily. She was the smallest of all the cadets but refused to give up. "Perhaps," Zethkar continued, addressing the other species, "you can see why I questioned the Alliance decision to include humans. They lack the physical strength for military service. They are too emotional and fragile." A Nexus cadet, its cybernetic parts gleaming under the lights, turned its head toward the humans. "Their test scores were adequate for admission," it said, in its flat electronic voice. Zethkar snorted. "Test scores mean nothing in real combat. Watch." He activated a training drone and set it to Vilethrin difficulty level. The drone was twice the size of a human and moved with deadly speed. It had been designed to challenge beings of Zethkar's species. "Morrison," he called. "Face the drone." Kate stepped forward. She knew this was unfair, but protesting would only make things worse. The drone activated and immediately rushed toward her. Its metal arms swung with enough force to break human bones. Kate dove to the side, barely avoiding the first strike. The drone spun and attacked again. She rolled across the training mat, using speed and agility to stay ahead of its powerful but slower movements. For 2 minutes she managed to avoid serious injury, but she couldn't land any effective hits. Finally, the drone caught her with a glancing blow that sent her rolling across the floor. Pain shot through her ribs. She got to her feet slowly, breathing hard. "End simulation," Zethkar announced. As expected, the human cannot even damage a basic training unit. In real combat, she would be dead within seconds. Kate wanted to point out that the drone was set for a species 3 times her size and strength, but she kept quiet. Speaking out would only give Zethkar more ammunition against all humans. That evening, the human cadets gathered in their common room. Ben Taylor was treating a cut on his arm from his own encounter with an overpowered training drone. Amy Johnson sat with an ice pack on her shoulder. Everyone looked exhausted and frustrated. "This can't continue," Carlos Santos said. "He's going to get someone seriously hurt. Or killed," Rachel Kim added quietly. Commander Sullivan entered the room carrying a cup of coffee. His face was grim. "I've been meeting with Academy leadership all afternoon," he said. "Director Quintal is aware of the situation." "And?" Kate asked. "Quintal says Zethkar's methods are harsh but not outside Academy guidelines. Alien species train differently than humans. What seems excessive to us might be normal for them." "Normal?" Tony's voice was angry. "He set the training drones to kill us." "I know," Sullivan replied. "I'm filing detailed reports every day. But Zethkar has been an instructor here for 20 years. He has a record of producing effective soldiers." Kate stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see other species training in different sections of the facility. They moved with natural abilities humans didn't possess. The Thrax could lift objects 5 times their body weight. The Vilthrons had natural armor and incredible strength. Even the smallest alien species had advantages humans lacked. "Maybe he's right," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Lisa Park frowned. "What do you mean?" "Maybe we don't belong here," Kate continued. "Look at us. We're the weakest species in the Academy. We can barely handle training exercises designed for others. How are we supposed to serve alongside them in real combat?" Ben Taylor shook his head. "That's exactly what he wants you to think." "But what if it's true?" Kate asked. "What if humans really aren't cut out for this?" Commander Sullivan set down his coffee cup. "Kate, I've read your service record. You survived 2 combat tours on Earth. You earned commendations for bravery under fire. That wasn't because you were the strongest person in your unit." "Earth combat is different," Kate replied. "We were fighting other humans. Here, we're supposed to work with beings who could crush us without thinking about it." "Strength isn't everything," Sullivan said. "Humans have other qualities. We adapt. We think creatively. We don't give up easily." Over the next few days, Zethkar's treatment grew worse. He began singling out individual humans for extra punishment. During weapons training, he would increase the weight of their equipment, while making them use firearms designed for larger hands. In tactical exercises, he would change the rules mid-session to disadvantage the human team. The breaking point came during a group exercise. All the cadets were divided into mixed species, teams for a capture the flag simulation. Kate found herself teamed with 2 Thrax cadets and a Nexus. Their opponents included Tony Rodriguez with 3 Valthran cadets. Kate studied the battlefield layout and proposed a strategy. The Thrax could use their climbing abilities to reach high positions. The Nexus could coordinate communications with its advanced sensors. Kate would use human flexibility to move through small spaces the others couldn't access. The plan worked perfectly. Kate's team captured the enemy flag within 15 minutes, the fastest time recorded all week. The Thrax cadets clicked their approval, and even the normally emotionless Nexus seemed impressed. But Zethkar was furious. Unacceptable, he announced to the entire training group. The humans used unauthorized tactics. This exercise will be repeated with additional restrictions on human movement. Kate felt her carefully controlled anger finally begin to boil over. Sir, what tactics were unauthorized? Zethkar's yellow eyes fixed on her. Did I give you permission to speak, Cadet? No, sir, but I would like to understand what rules we broke. The rules are whatever I say they are, Zethkar replied. And I say humans will not use sneaky, cowardly tactics to win through deception. Using available terrain and team member abilities is standard military strategy, sir, Kate said, fighting to keep her voice respectful. The training facility fell silent. Every cadet and instructor present could hear the tension in Kate's voice. Zethkar took a step closer, using his massive size to intimidate her. Are you questioning my authority, human? Kate looked up at him, refusing to back down. I'm questioning the fairness of changing rules after successful completion of an exercise, sir. For a moment, it seemed like Zethkar might strike her right there, his hands clenched into fists large enough to crush her skull. But other instructors were watching, including Hive Singer Zekth, the Thrax combat instructor. You will repeat the exercise, Zethkar said slowly, with the restriction that humans may not leave the ground level. If you succeed, I will consider your methods acceptable. Kate knew it was impossible. The exercise required reaching elevated positions to win. Without climbing or jumping to higher ground, her team couldn't succeed. But she nodded anyway. Understood, sir. That night, Kate lay awake thinking about the confrontation. She had crossed a line with Zethkar. From now on, he would make her life even more difficult. But she was tired of being treated like something less than a real soldier. She began planning. If Zethkar wanted to make this personal, she would be ready for him. She started researching Valthran anatomy and combat techniques in the Academy database. She studied their pressure points, their reflexes, their natural fighting style. Lisa Park found her in the library late one night, reading everything she could find about alien combat methods. What are you doing? Lisa asked. Learning, Kate replied. If we're going to survive here, we need to understand our opponents better than they understand us. Lisa sat down beside her. You mean Zethkar? Him and anyone else who thinks humans don't belong here, Kate said. We may not be the strongest or the fastest, but we can be the smartest and the most prepared. They spent the next several hours studying together, learning everything they could about the species they trained alongside. By morning, Kate had a new understanding of what they were up against, and she had the beginning of a plan. 2 weeks had passed since Kate began her secret studies. Every night after training, she would spend hours in the Academy library learning about alien combat techniques. Lisa Park joined her most evenings, and together they practiced modified, human fighting methods in empty training rooms. Kate discovered that Valthrans, despite their size and strength, had predictable attack patterns. They relied on power over speed. Their armor plates protected most of their body, but joints and pressure points remained vulnerable. More importantly, their balance shifted differently than humans when they moved. Their center of gravity is higher than ours, Kate explained to Lisa during one of their late-night practice sessions. If you can get them off balance, their own weight works against them. Lisa nodded, practicing the moves Kate had shown her. Like judo, but adapted for fighting something 3 times our size. Exactly, Kate replied. We can't match their strength, but we can use it against them. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Commander Sullivan announced that the Academy would host its annual Joint Species Combat exercise. All cadets would be divided into mixed teams for a complex military simulation. This is your chance to show what humans can do, Sullivan told them over breakfast. The entire Academy leadership will be watching, including species representatives from across the Alliance. Kate felt her pulse quicken. This was the opportunity she had been preparing for. But it also meant Zethkar would be watching closely for any chance to embarrass the human program. The team assignments were posted that afternoon. Kate found herself paired with 3 Velthran cadets for the capture and hold exercise. The irony wasn't lost on her. Zethkar had probably arranged this personally. Her teammates were young Velthrons named Korth, Veltar, and Zixan. They were smaller than Zethkar but still towered over Kate. When they met for the first planning session, their attitude was clear. The human will stay in the rear, Korth announced without looking at her. We will handle the actual fighting. I can contribute more than you think, Kate replied calmly. Veltar snorted, a sound like steam escaping from a pipe. You are half our size and have no natural weapons or armor. What could you possibly contribute? Kate pulled out the tactical data she had prepared. I've studied the exercise layout. There are 3 objectives we need to capture and hold. The other teams will expect us to use brute force because we're mostly Velthrans. But we can use surprise instead. She spread out the maps and began explaining her strategy. The Velthrans listened with growing interest despite themselves. Kate's plan was complex, using misdirection and timing rather than direct assault. The human has tactical awareness, Zixan admitted reluctantly. This plan could work. Over the next 3 days, they practiced together. Kate was surprised to find that the young Velthrans were willing to listen to her ideas once they saw she had done her homework. They even began incorporating some of her suggestions into their own fighting techniques. But not everyone was pleased with this development. I see you've been corrupting young Velthran minds with your human weakness, Zethkar said, approaching Kate after one practice session. The 3 young Velthrans had already left, but Kate remained to clean up equipment. I've been working with my assigned teammates, sir, Kate replied. Teaching them to hide and sneak like cowards, Zethkar continued. Velthrans are warriors. They fight with honor and strength, not with human tricks. Kate continued stowing gear, refusing to be baited. But Zethkar wasn't finished. You think you're clever, don't you? He said, moving closer. Reading about us in your little books, thinking you understand what it means to be a warrior. But knowledge without strength is useless. Knowledge without strength is still knowledge, sir, Kate replied. Strength without knowledge is just violence. Zethkar's eyes narrowed dangerously. Careful, human. Your words sound like disrespect. Just truth, sir. The exercise began early the next morning. 20 teams of 4 cadets each were scattered across a large training facility designed to simulate an urban combat zone. Each team had to capture and hold 3 strategic points while preventing other teams from taking them. Kate's team started in the southeast corner of the facility. Around them, she could hear the sounds of other teams beginning their assault on the objectives. Most were using direct attacks exactly as she had predicted. Remember the plan, she told her teammates. Speed and surprise. They moved quickly through the training facility's corridors. Kate took point, using her smaller size to scout ahead, while the Velthrans followed. Their first objective was a communication center on the 3rd floor of a building currently held by a team of Thrax cadets. Instead of attacking directly, Kate led them through a maintenance shaft too small for most species. They emerged behind the Thrax position and caught them completely off guard. The insect-like beings were focused on the main entrance, expecting a frontal assault. Objective 1 secured, Kate reported over their communication system. Watching. From the command center, Academy instructors took notice. Director Quintal, the Nexus administrator, tilted its cybernetic head with interest. Even Hive singer Zekth, the Thrax instructor, clicked its mandibles approvingly, but Zethkar's expression grew darker with each success. Kate's team moved to their second objective, a supply depot guarded by Luminary cadets. The energy beings were nearly impossible to fight directly, but Kate had studied their weaknesses too. Luminary needed to maintain concentration to keep their energy form stable. Loud noises and bright lights could disrupt them. Veltar, can you create a distraction at the main entrance? Kate asked. The young Veltran nodded and began firing his weapon at the building's front wall. The Luminary inside responded, focusing their attention on what appeared to be a direct assault. Meanwhile, Kate and the others entered through a side window and used the facility's emergency lighting system to create a strobing effect throughout the building. The Luminary lost cohesion and had to retreat, leaving the objective undefended. Objective 2 secured, Kate reported. Other teams were struggling with more conventional approaches. Direct assaults were failing against well-defended positions, but Kate's unconventional tactics were working better than anyone had expected. Their final objective was the most difficult, a command center held by a team of mixed species, including 2 Nexus cadets whose advanced sensors would detect most approaches. Kate studied the building layout one more time. We need to think like they think, she told her team. The Nexus are logical. They'll defend the most likely attack routes and assume we'll behave predictably. What do you suggest? Korath asked. We don't attack the command center at all, Kate replied. We attack the power generator in the basement. Without power, their sensors go offline and they lose communications. It was a risky plan. If they were caught in the basement, they would be trapped with no escape route. But it was also completely unexpected. They entered through a forgotten maintenance hatch and made their way to the building's lower levels. Kate's heart pounded as they moved through dark corridors toward the generator room. If the Nexus detected them now, the exercise would be over. The generator room was unguarded, exactly as Kate had hoped. The defending team had focused all their attention on protecting the command center above. Kate and Zeekson worked together to shut down the power system, while the other 2 Velthrans stood guard. Suddenly, the building went dark. Emergency lighting flickered on, but the advanced sensor systems went offline. In the confusion, Kate's team rushed upstairs and caught the defenders completely off guard. Objective 3 secured, Kate announced. All objectives held. The exercise ended with Kate's team achieving a complete victory. They had captured all 3 objectives and held them for the required time, something no team had managed in the previous 5 years of the exercise. In the command center, the instructors watched in amazement as the final scores appeared on screen. Director Quintal turned to address the room. This performance will be studied by tactical instructors across the Alliance, it announced. The integration of human, strategic thinking with Velthran combat ability represents a new model for mixed species cooperation. Other instructors nodded approvingly. Even some who had been skeptical of the human program began to reconsider their opinions. But Zethkar sat in furious silence. His carefully planned humiliation of the humans had backfired completely. Instead of proving human weakness, the exercise had demonstrated their value to the Alliance military. After the debriefing, Kate's Velthran teammates approached her with something resembling respect. You fought well today, human, Korath said. Your strategies brought honor to our team. We brought honor to our team, Kate corrected. I couldn't have done any of this without you. But as they celebrated their victory, Kate noticed Zethkar watching her from across the room. His yellow eyes burned with hatred and wounded pride. She had embarrassed him in front of the entire academy, and she knew he would not forget it. The victory felt good, but Kate sensed it had come at a price. She had proven that humans could succeed at the academy, but she had also made a powerful enemy. Zethkar would be looking for revenge, and next time he might not be so careful about following academy rules. The weeks following the combat exercise were different for Kate and the other humans. Word of their victory had spread throughout the academy. Cadets from other species began treating them with new respect. The Thrax clicked their mandibles in, greeting when they passed in the corridors. Even some Nexus cadets stopped to analyze human tactical methods with genuine interest. But Commander Zethkar's behavior grew worse than ever. "Success has made the humans arrogant," he announced during morning formation. "They think one lucky victory makes them warriors. Today we will remind them of reality." Kate stood at attention with the other cadets, feeling Zethkar's yellow eyes boring into her. She knew he blamed her personally for his humiliation during the exercise. Every day since then, he had found new ways to single her out for punishment. During weapons training, he would hand her equipment that was damaged or poorly calibrated. In physical conditioning, he would increase her requirements while keeping everyone else's the same. When she completed the tasks anyway, his anger only grew stronger. The other instructors had begun to notice. Hive Singer Zeketh, the Thrax combat instructor, watched Zethkar's behavior with increasing concern. Director Quintal had even spoken to Commander Sullivan about the situation. But Zethkar was careful to stay within the technical boundaries of Academy regulations. "Today we practice hand-to-hand combat techniques," Zethkar announced to the assembled cadets. "Each species has natural advantages in close combat. Belthrons have strength and armor. Thrax have speed and natural weapons. Nexus have enhanced reflexes and sensor systems." He paused and looked directly at Kate. "Humans have nothing. No claws, no armor, no enhanced abilities. They must rely on technique alone." The training hall was enormous, with mats spread across the floor for sparring practice. Cadets from all species paired off to practice the techniques Zethkar demonstrated. Kate found herself working with Lisa Park, practicing the moves they had studied together in secret. "Remember what we learned about leverage," Kate whispered as they grappled. "Use their size against them." For an hour, they practiced standard techniques. Zethkar moved through the groups, correcting form and demonstrating proper methods. He was actually a skilled instructor when he wasn't letting his prejudice show. Kate watched carefully, learning even from someone she disliked. "Now for demonstration," Zethkar announced. "I need a volunteer to help show proper defensive techniques against a larger opponent." Kate knew what was coming before he spoke her name. "Morrison, come forward." Every cadet in the hall turned to watch as Kate walked to the center of the training mat. She could feel their eyes on her, wondering what would happen. Some looked curious, others concerned. A few seemed to expect disaster. "The human will demonstrate how her species handles combat against superior opponents," Zethkar said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Kate took a ready position on the mat. Zethkar was more than twice her size and covered in natural armor. Plates. His hands were like clubs and his reach was enormous. In a real fight, she would avoid close combat entirely. But this was supposed to be a training demonstration. "First technique," Zethkar announced. "Defense against overhead strike." He raised his massive arm as if to demonstrate a slow, controlled attack. Kate prepared to show the proper blocking technique they had learned in class. But when his arm came down, it was neither slow nor controlled. The blow caught Kate across the shoulder with enough force to stagger her. Pain shot down her arm and she had to fight to stay on her feet. This wasn't a demonstration anymore, it was an attack. "Sloppy defense," Zethkar said calmly. Again, Kate reset her position, trying to ignore the throbbing in her shoulder. Around the training hall, other cadets had stopped their own practice to watch. She could see concern on some faces, but no one dared to speak up. "Second technique," Zethkar continued. "Defense against cross-strike." This time, Kate was ready for the extra force, but Zethkar changed the angle of his attack. Instead of the predictable horizontal blow they had practiced, he struck downward at her face. Kate managed to get her guard up, but the impact drove her to one knee. Blood ran from her nose where his massive fist had connected despite her block. The training hall had gone completely silent except for the sound of her breathing. "Still sloppy," Zethkar said. "The human cannot even handle basic defensive techniques. How does the Alliance expect such weakness to survive real combat?" Kate wiped blood from her face and stood up slowly. Her shoulder ached and her nose throbbed, but she kept her expression calm. She would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. "Perhaps the demonstration has shown enough," came a voice from the side of the training hall. Hivesinger Zekth had approached the mat, its forearms crossed in what Kate had learned was a sign of disapproval among the Thrax. "The demonstration continues until I say it ends," Zethkar replied without taking his eyes off Kate. "Third technique, defense against grappling attack." Kate knew what was coming. In a proper demonstration, Zethkar would show how to escape from a controlled hold. But there would be nothing controlled about what he planned to do. "I understand the technique, sir," Kate said carefully. "Perhaps we could move on to the next group." "Are you refusing to continue the demonstration, Cadet Morrison?" Zethkar's voice carried clearly across the silent training hall. Kate felt trapped. If she refused, he would claim she was disobeying orders and unwilling to train properly. If, she continued, he might seriously injure her. But backing down now would confirm everything he had said about human weakness. "No, sir. Ready to continue." Zethkar smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. "Excellent. Defense against grappling attack requires the defender to remain calm under pressure." He reached for her with both massive hands, moving faster than his size suggested possible. Kate tried to step back, but he caught her arm in a grip like a steel trap. Pain shot through her already injured shoulder as he lifted her partly off the ground. "The key is not to panic," Zethkar said conversationally, as if he wasn't crushing her arm. "Many species freeze when grappled by a superior opponent." Kate fought against his grip, but it was like trying to break free from a mechanical vice. He was demonstrating human helplessness for the entire academy to see, and there was nothing she could do about it. Then he made his mistake. Of course, in real combat the enemy would not be so gentle, Zethkar said. And he struck her across the face with his free hand. The blow was hard enough to snap her head back and fill her vision with stars. Blood flowed freely from her nose and lips, but more importantly it crossed the line from harsh training into clear assault. Even by academy standards, instructors were not supposed to actually injure cadets during demonstrations. In that moment, something inside Kate broke free. Not her spirit, but her restraint. 3 weeks of studying Velthran anatomy and combat techniques had taught her exactly where their weaknesses were. Hours of practice with Lisa had shown her how to use leverage and timing against larger opponents. Years of Marine training had taught her to fight through pain and never give up. As Zethkar drew back his hand for another strike, Kate acted. She grabbed his striking arm at the wrist with both hands and pivoted sharply to her left. The movement used his own momentum against him while targeting the one joint in his arm that wasn't protected by natural armor. Her pivot took her out of line with his mass while maintaining her grip on his extended arm. Zethkar, caught off balance by her sudden movement, tried to compensate by pulling back. But Kate had anticipated this. She continued her pivot, adding her own force to his pull while stepping into a position that used his size against him. The result was a perfect throw that sent all 8 feet and 400 pounds of Commander Zethkar crashing to the training mat with a sound like a tree falling. The massive alien instructor lay on his back, stunned and gasping for breath. His yellow eyes were wide with shock and disbelief. Around the training hall, every cadet and instructor stood frozen in amazement. Kate stood over her fallen instructor, blood still dripping from her nose. Her shoulder throbbed and her face ached, but she was standing while he was not. She looked down at Zethkar and spoke in a calm, clear voice that carried across the silent hall. "Training exercise complete, sir." For a long moment, nobody moved. The only sound was Zethkar's labored breathing as he struggled to get air back into his lungs. Then, slowly, he began to rise. His movements were careful, and his expression was murderous. Kate remained at attention, knowing that what happened next would determine not just her own fate, but the future of all humans at the Academy. She had just done something unprecedented. A human cadet had defeated a Velthran instructor in hand-to-hand combat. As Zethkar finally regained his feet, Kate could see the rage building in his eyes. But she also saw something else she had never seen there before. Fear. The silence in the training hall stretched for what felt like hours. Commander Zethkar stood slowly, his massive form shaking with rage and humiliation. Kate remained at attention, blood still trickling from her nose, waiting for whatever would come next. Then Director Quintal's voice cut through the tension like a blade. All cadets are dismissed, the Nexus administrator announced from the entrance to the training hall. Instructors will remain for immediate debriefing. Kate had not heard the director arrive, but there it stood with two other Academy officials. One was Admiral Kefferon, a luminary who served as head of Academy discipline. The other was General Vortek, a senior Thrax officer who oversaw all combat training. The cadets filed out quickly, but Kate could feel their eyes on her as they passed. Some looked at her with new respect. Others seemed afraid of what her actions might mean for all of them. The Velthran cadets who had been her teammates during the exercise gave her small nods of approval as they left. When the hall was empty, except for instructors and Academy leadership, Director Quintal approached the training mat where Kate still stood. "Cadet Morrison, report to Medical Bay immediately," it said in its flat electronic voice. "You will return to my office in 1 hour for questioning." Kate saluted and turned to leave, but Zethkar's voice stopped her. "This incident is not over, human," he said quietly but loud enough for everyone to hear. "You have made a grave error. Commander Zethkar," Admiral Kefferon's voice pulsed with controlled energy. "You will report to Security Office Alpha immediately. You are relieved of training duties pending investigation." Kate left the training hall with those words echoing behind her. As she walked through the corridors toward Medical Bay, news of what had happened was already spreading. Cadets from every species stopped their conversations to stare as she passed. Some whispered among themselves in languages she couldn't understand. At Medical Bay, Dr. Helixan, a gentle Nexus physician, treated her injuries. The damage was worse than it looked. Her shoulder was badly bruised, but not broken. Her nose was swollen, but not fractured. The cuts on her face would heal without scars. "You are fortunate," Dr. Helixan said as it applied healing compounds to her wounds. "A few more pounds of force and Commander Zethkar could have caused permanent damage." "Did he intend to hurt me that badly?" Kate asked. The doctor paused in its work. "That is not for me to determine, but I have treated many cadets injured during his training sessions. Usually the injuries are less precise." An hour later, Kate stood outside Director Quintal's office. Her face was still swollen and her shoulder ached, but the medical treatment had helped. She knocked and entered when called. The office was large and filled with holographic displays showing Academy operations. Director Quintal sat behind a curved desk that seemed to be made of liquid metal. Admiral Kefferon floated nearby, its energy form pulsing with different colors. General Vortek stood by the window, all four of its arms crossed. "Cadet Morrison," Director Quintal began, "you are here because of a serious incident during training. An Academy instructor was physically defeated by a cadet during what was supposed to be a demonstration exercise." Kate remained at attention. "Yes, sir." "Explain your actions." Kate chose her words carefully. "Commander Zethkar was demonstrating defensive techniques, sir. During the demonstration, his attacks became more forceful than normal training protocols. When he struck me in the face during a grappling exercise, I responded with defensive action." "You threw an instructor to the ground," General Vortek said, its mandibles clicking. "This has never happened in Academy history." "I used the defensive techniques we had been taught, sir. I applied them as effectively as I could." Admiral Kefferon pulsed brighter. "We have reviewed the training hall recordings. Commander Zethkar's actions clearly exceeded acceptable training methods. His final strike was an assault, not instruction." Director Quintal leaned forward. "However, your response was also unprecedented. No cadet has ever physically defeated an instructor, regardless of circumstances. This creates a complex situation." Kate waited, unsure what to say. She had defended herself, but she had also humiliated one of the Academy's senior instructors in front of dozens of witnesses. "Tell me, Cadet Morrison," General Vortek continued, "how did you acquire the knowledge to defeat a Velthran in hand-to-hand combat? Your species lacks the natural advantages for such a victory." Kate took a deep breath. "I studied Velthran, anatomy and combat techniques in the Academy database, sir. I practiced adapted techniques with other human cadets during our free time." "You prepared specifically to fight Velthrans?" Admiral Kefferon asked. I prepared to defend myself if necessary, sir. I studied all species represented at the Academy. The three officials exchanged glances. Then Director Quintal spoke again. Cadet Morrison, you will not be disciplined for defending yourself against an instructor's assault. However, this incident has created consequences that extend beyond personal conflict. What kind of consequences, sir? General Vortex stepped forward. News of this event has spread throughout the Academy and beyond. A human cadet defeating a Vilethron instructor has challenged many assumptions about your species' capabilities. Other species are requesting tactical analysis of your techniques, Admiral Kefron added. They want to understand how humans achieved something thought impossible. Director Quintal stood up from its desk. More importantly, this incident has demonstrated that humans bring unique value to the Alliance military. Your combination of strategic thinking, adaptability, and determination has impressed Academy leadership. Kate felt a mixture of relief and confusion. Am I being commended or punished, sir? You are being recognized, Director Quintal replied. Effective immediately, you are promoted to senior cadet. You will assist in developing new training protocols that incorporate human tactical methods. Furthermore, General Vortek added, your techniques will be studied and adapted for use by smaller species throughout the Alliance. You have pioneered a new approach to asymmetric combat. Over the following days, everything changed at the Academy. Commander Zethkar was reassigned to administrative duties on a distant station. The investigation had found multiple violations of training protocols and evidence of systematic prejudice against human cadets. Kate found herself in an unexpected position. Instead of being an outcast, she became something of a celebrity. Cadets from other species approached her to learn human fighting techniques. Instructors asked her to demonstrate the methods she had developed. The other human cadets benefited as well. Tony Rodriguez was selected for advanced pilot training. Lisa Park became an instructor assistant, teaching modified combat techniques to smaller species. Ben Taylor, Amy Johnson, Carlos Santos, and Rachel Kim all received commendations for their performance under difficult conditions. Commander Sullivan was promoted to full Academy instructor status and given authority to establish new training protocols for human cadets. The systematic bias they had faced was officially recognized and eliminated, but the most significant change was in how other species viewed humans. The Thrax began studying human adaptability as a model for their own tactical development. The Luminari expressed interest in human emotional resilience under pressure. Even the logical nexus admitted that human creativity provided valuable tactical advantages. 6 months later, Kate Morrison became the first human to graduate at the top of her Academy class. Her techniques were being taught throughout the Alliance as standard methods for asymmetric combat. The incident that could have ended her career had instead revolutionized how the galaxy viewed human potential. At her graduation ceremony, Kate wore the uniform of an Alliance Defense Force officer. Her family had come from Earth to watch, along with representatives from dozens of species. As she received her commission, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. Director Quintal presented her with her new assignment. She would serve aboard the Alliance vessel Meridian as a tactical officer, working with a crew that represented 12 different species. Her reputation had preceded her, and her fellow crew members already showed her the respect she had earned through trial and determination. After the ceremony, Kate met with the new human cadets who had just arrived at the Academy. They looked nervous and excited, just as she had months earlier. But their experience would be different from hers. They would face challenges but not systematic prejudice. They would be pushed to excel but not set up to fail. Remember, she told them, we may not be the strongest or the fastest species in the Alliance, but we adapt, we learn, we never give up. That's what makes us human, and that's why we belong here among the stars. As Kate prepared to leave for her new assignment, she reflected on what she had learned. Strength wasn't just about physical power. It was about refusing to be broken, finding ways to overcome impossible odds, and proving that even the smallest person could make a difference in the vastness of space. The Academy had tried to break her, but instead it had forged her into something stronger. She was no longer just Kate Morrison from Montana. She was Lieutenant Kate Morrison of the Alliance, Defense Force representing humanity among the stars.